has her on repeat on his iPod. So let's take a look and talk about some rational equations and solving. First thing we have to look at here is we're going to solve some values here, and we understand a couple of things. First of all, these are a lot like things we know in the past. If I have a fraction, this is essentially dividing by the bottom. And if I wanted to get that by itself, the opposite of dividing by x over 4 would just be multiplying both sides by x minus 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides here by x minus 4. What happens here is these are going to cancel out, and I get 4x plus 7 equals 7 times x minus 4. All right? Now this is just an Algebro 1 question. Yeah, it's a little bit tough, but we can still do it. So 4x plus 7 equals 7x. I'm distributing over here on the right side, minus 28. Need to get like terms together. I'm going to subtract 4x's over here. 7x's minus these 4x's are 3x's, so they're gone on that side. I'm going to add 28 to this side. 7 plus 28 is 35. Divide both sides by 3, and we have x equals 35 over 3. Now, most of the time, that's going to be it. We're done. Nothing else to do or worry about. But we do want to talk about excluded values because every now and again, we're going to get to a situation where we cannot have an answer, and it's because it's excluded. What would an excluded value look like? Well, remember, when we have a fraction, the denominator cannot equal what? The denominator cannot equal 0. So some of these are going to be real easy, and honestly, you should be able to do these without even writing it down. So I cannot have x minus 4 equals 0, so x cannot equal 4. Now in this situation, x doesn't equal 4, so it's not a problem at all. But our excluded value in this case would be 4. Sometimes it's going to matter a great deal. We'll get an answer down here. It'll match this answer, which means we don't have an answer. It'll be no solution. All right, so that's the first one. All right, so let's try this one. We have on the denominator, we're dividing by n minus 5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by n minus 5. That cancels on this side. So now I have 4n squared plus 12n minus 10 equals 3 times n minus 5. So 3 times n is 3n. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. I have a squared term and a linear term, so I'm going to have to factor, so I need to get everything to the same side. So, no other n squareds, 4n squareds. Subtract 3n. 12n minus 3n is going to be positive 9n. Add 15 to both sides. Negative 10 plus 15 is 5. And then we have equals 0. We need to factor. We need two numbers that multiply to 20 and add to 9. And we have a leading coefficient here, don't we? So, putting my 4n in the front of both. All right, so 4 times 5 is 20, and 4 plus 5 is 9. On this one, I'm going to take a common factor of 4 out. So I have n plus 1 times 4n plus 5. Use our zero product property. N plus 1 could equal 0, or 4n plus 5 could equal 0. Subtract 1 on this, I get n equals negative 1. Over here, I subtract 5. I have 4n equals negative 5. Divide by 4, n would equal negative 5 over 4. So it looks like I have two answers. Let's see what excluded values I have. N minus 5 cannot equal 0, so what would make that 0? 5. 5 minus 5 would be 0, so n cannot be 5, which it looks good. Neither of our answers are. N is 5, so we are all set with that one. No problemo. All right, this time we don't really have just a simple proportion where we can cross multiply or whatnot. I'm going to do a simpler problem over here. Let's say I have 1/2 plus 1/3 equals x over 2. Now, I could get a common denominator here and then get a common denominator and subtract all that fun stuff, okay? But here's a trick. I'm going to multiply by the least common multiple. So that's like getting a common denominator would be 6, right? So I'm going to multiply by the least common denominator over here is 6, or multiple, excuse me, is 6. So now you'll notice when I'm going to multiply everything in here by 6. When I multiply 2 times 3, or 6 by 1/2, the 2 cancels and what's left? 3 times 1. When I multiply 1/3 times 6, The 3's cancel, and what is left? 2. 2 times 1 is 2. And when I multiply x over 2, the 2's cancel. What's left? 3. 3 times x is 3x. And that's how I would solve that. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. What are the factors I'm working with in this one? Well, I'm going to multiply everything here. One of the factors is definitely x, and the other one is x minus 3. All right. So now, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to multiply the first one, and I'm going to do this one as long as I can. So I'm going to multiply 1 over x times my least common multiple, x times x minus 3. All right? Then I'm going to multiply the next one. 1 over x minus 3 times x minus 3. And that's going to equal x minus 2 over x minus 3. All of that times x minus 3. All right, so let's take a look. When I multiply this one, it's easy to see the x's cancel. So I'm going to multiply 1 times x minus 3, which is just x minus 3. On this one, the x minus 3's cancel. So I'm going to multiply 1 times x, and that is x. Over here, x minus 3 cancels. I'm going to multiply x times x minus 2, which is x squared minus 2x. I actually have to distribute on that one, right? So now I have another squared and linear, so I need to get everything together. So let's see, I have 2x's here, right? So 2x's, I'm going to subtract 2x's, and I'm going to add 3. So now I have 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. And we need to factor that. So that's x minus 3 times x minus 1 equals 0. All right, so that means I have my zero product property. I set this equal to 0, so x could equal 3, or set this equal to 0, x could equal 1. Great, that looks like our answers. Oh, but we need to see our excluded values. On this one now we have multiple ones. On the bottom here is x, so this is easy. What number cannot equal 0? 0. All right, so x cannot equal 0, and what else? What would go in here to make the bottom 0? I would plug in a 3. 3 minus 3 would be 0, so x cannot be 0 or 3. All right, if it cannot be 3, look at that. That's one of our answers, so I have to cross this one out. It's not an answer. The only answer we have is x equals 1. And that is why you have to check the excluded values every time. Talk about irrational people. Tom Cruise. I'm telling you, this guy was completely normal, biggest star ever, and then one day just kind of lost it. I have no idea what happened to this guy, but he is really irrational, all right? So let's take a look at this one. I'm going to start it off and then kind of speed through it. You can always slow it down and watch again if you need to. So I'm going to multiply everything here by the least common multiple. So I have a 4n, I have a 4, and I have a 2n. Well, looks like there's one n here. Now 2 and 4, 4 is the least common multiple. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4n. So now, let's see here. 4n times 4n, these are going to cross out. I'm just going to try and skip a step, if you will. So instead of writing that, I'm going to multiply this by 4n. I am. 4n and 4n cancel. So what's left? N minus 3. And that equals 1/4 times 4n. Well, the 4's cancel. What's left? N. N times 1 is n. And then 2n times 4n. The n's cancel. 2 goes into 4 twice. So I'm going to multiply 2 times n plus 2. All right, so we have some math to do here. Distribute 2 times n is 2n. 2 times 2 is 4. All right, and we need to combine by terms. So we have 3n plus 4 on this side. We have n minus 3 on this side. Get them, my n's together, subtract n. I have 2n. Subtract 4, I have negative 7. Divide by 2, and n gives me negative 7 halves. Okay, so let's just make sure that that is good. All that it works out for us. Our excluded values, let's see. Nothing here, and the only one that n couldn't be would be n could not be 0. And n is definitely not 0, so that one checks out just fine. All right, ooh, we have a big long one here, don't we? My recommendation is always to factor denominators first. So here this is 3 times x squared minus x minus 6. This is the same one, right? So let's see. This is really going to be 3 times x minus 3 times x minus 2. This one is going to be 3 times x plus 2. Oh, and this should be a plus 2 because it adds up to negative 1. So if it looks, let's take a look. Our least common multiple, there's a 3 in common. I'm also going to multiply by an x minus 3 and an x plus 2. So when I multiply this times this, these cancel out. What's left? 1. 1 minus, now I'm going to put parentheses here. This whole thing times that, that's the same thing. It cancels out. So what's left? X plus 4 equals, now I have an x plus 2 to cancel. I have a 3 to cancel. So I'm really going to multiply 1 times x minus 3, which is just x minus 3. Simplify. I have to distribute this negative. Minus x minus 4 equals x minus 3. Get my x's together. I'm going to add an x over to here, so that's 2x. I'm going to add 3 over here. So negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So my x is going to be 0. All right. Let's see what our excluded values would be. Could not be 3 here. X could not be 3. And x could not be negative 2. Now, a big common mistake. I see kids see this 3 on the outside and think of it as an x. If x were out here, then x could not be 0. But there's no x out here. That doesn't mean I would include 0 down here as an excluded value. All right? So x equals 0. That is more than okay. We are good to go on to the next one. All right, so we look at this one. Again, going to multiply by our least common multiple. We have a 3, a 2, which is 6. So I may just put 3 and 2 out here. I have a p and a p squared, so p squared is the least common multiple. When I multiply this 5/3 times 3, 2p squared, the 3's cancel, so I'm really going to multiply by 2p squared. So 2p squared times 5 plus 2p cancels with one of the p, so I'm going to have a p. So 1 times, and the 2 cancels, so I have 3p. 6p squared cancels with 6p squared, so we have 1 here. So let's see, we have 2 times 5, 10p squared plus 3p. Oh, this is a quadratic, so let's bring this over here. Minus 1 equals 0. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to 3. All right, let's put a 10 at the beginning, 10p at the beginning, because we know it's going to start, even though we know that's wrong. So two numbers that multiply to negative 10 and add to 3 would be positive 5 and negative 2. All right, I have a common factor of 5 here. Divide both by 5, I get 2p plus 1. Over here, I have a common factor of 2, so then I have 5p minus 1 equals 0. Set each equal to 0, so 2p plus 1 equals 0, or 5p minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1, 2p equals negative 1. P would equal negative 1/2. Over here, add 1, 5p equals 1. Divide by 5, p would equal 1/5. Make sure our excluded values, the only excluded value we have, p cannot be 0. Therefore, everything works out just great over here. Our two answers both check out just great. No problems on that one at all. Talk about irrational people. These are probably the most irrational people I know. All right, we got Bean, Kelly, myself, Mr. Brust right there. All right, 4 of the most irrational people I know, and sorry you have to deal with us all the time. All right, so why don't you pause the video, try this one all on your own. So if you take a look here, I factored the denominator down here. We have x minus 2 times x minus 6. They canceled out here, so I had x minus 2. Here the x minus 2 canceled out. I have x times x minus 6. Had to do some factoring down here. Got them on the same side. I found that x was 6 or negative 1. But of course, the excluded value of 6 does not work, so I had to cancel that one out right there. Alright? Alright, one more here. I'm going to factor the bottom here. I have m plus 2 times m plus 3. So it's pretty clear that my least common multiple is going to be m plus 2 and m plus 3. Alright? These cancel, so I have 2 plus 5 times. Now, there's nothing on this, so I need to multiply everything in here. Well, I know everything, this all multiplied together is m squared plus 5m plus 6. So that's going to equal, the m2's cancel, 2 times m plus 3. I'm going to speed through this now so you can finish it. So 2 plus 5m squared plus 25m plus 30 equals 2m plus 6. 5m squared, subtract 2m plus 23m. 32 minus 6 is 26 equals 0. All right? And then we need two numbers that multiply to 130 and add to 23. That's going to be 5m plus 10 and 5m plus 13. Again, 5 times 26, two numbers that multiply 130 and add to 23. So this is going to be m plus 2 times 5m plus 13 equals 0. So m could equal negative 2, or 5m plus 13 equals 0. 5m equals negative 13. M equals negative 13 over 5. Let's see our excluded values. M cannot equal negative 2 or negative 3. Which means this cannot be a solution, so this is our only solution right here. Alright? That's our only solution. You got to check those excluded values every time. So why don't you pause the video, try these on your own for a second. So over here, we had a least common multiple of x times x minus 2. Multiplied that through. We got 10 plus 4x minus 8 equaled 5x. Subtract 5x, we got x equaled 2. But I noticed that that was an excluded value. That was the only solution. That meant since that one didn't work, there was absolutely no solutions possible for this one. All right? Over here, my least common multiple was x times x plus 6. It's very important here. When I did this, when I multiplied x plus 2 here times x plus 6, that whole thing had to be in parentheses. Because then I had to distribute a negative to the x squared, the 8x, and the 12. Added it to the other side. This is a perfect square trinomial, so I know that's x plus 4 squared, or x plus 4 times x plus 4. So that's only going to be x is not equal, or x is negative 4, excuse me. And so then my excluded values were fine because 0 and negative 6 couldn't be the answers. So we are good to go there. So that's that. Hope you're good. Watch a little clip here. Enjoy the rational people on this one. Not so much. And I will see you on the flip side.